Wow, YouTube made streaming easy again. You can now just stream right away. This is actually how I used to like doing my YouTube videos, just going straight up off the cuff, just live stream that shit. Fuck all that editing. So, how's it going, guys? So, it's been a long time since I've been back on here again. I got a little bit of free time coming up, so fucking might as well make some videos. So, let's talk about some Tigers. Um, so far this I have pretty much watched a good majority of the games, kept up with it pretty tight. And this team at the very beginning was overachieving like absolute hell. At one time, 36 and 37, one game under 500, and there was all these people like, oh, they're not as bad as they thought. The improbable dream, maybe they can fight for a second wild card spot. Cleveland is. Some of that is correct. The Indians absolutely played terribly so far this season. They went from having one of the best bullpens to having bullpens in the league, and they actually haven't pitched that many innings because you got guys like Kluber and Bauer and Carrasco and whatnot. That really helps your rotation inning-wise. But I'm sitting there, even in their first 25 games in, I think they started, 0-4 or 0-3 before they won their first game, because I remember going to opening day. And they started 0-4, and then all of a sudden, and they were game under 500, and then they were floating 3 games under 500 and 5 games under 500, but then they'd win a couple in a row, and people were like, well, at my old job, they're like, maybe season. But I was like, no, they haven't gone through any prolonged streaks of losing. They've pretty much been win 4, lose 3, play 6 of 10, play 500 ball, and not make any ground or lose any ground, just to stay, right there. And the Twins haven't really been that good this year because their team, Miguel Sano isn't that good, and their starting rotation's kind of ass, like it always is. So, and then the White Sox are even worse, and the Royals are even bigger of a dumpster fire. So, they had a bad division facing bad teams. The only team they couldn't beat was the Indians. I mean, fucking Christ. They went into Cleveland, got their asses destroyed twice already, and then anything against Cleveland. Cleveland came into town for a 3-game series. The Tigers almost swept them, and I'm like, holy Jesus fuck, they actually beat the Indians. But they weren't losing a lot of games in a row. They weren't winning a lot, to be honest with you, at this point. I mean, you think about the guys. Mikey Matuk's been up and down quite a bit. Jacoby Jones has been in the low 200s. Miguel Cabrera comes back, then he's automatically hurt right away again. And as soon as he got hurt, I was watching the game. I saw that swing. I'm like, yep, he's done. I knew he had hurt himself for the rest of the year. Do anything, and he's out for the entire next 10 years of his career. So, and then there's been a lot of overachieving. For example, Frankie Liriano was really good for a good portion of the early on, which was giving the Tigers good starting pitching to begin with. Mike Fiers, now his numbers aren't sexy, but if you look at his game, he's probably been the most consistent guy. Numbers are a little bit higher, but he's been that guy. He's had a couple of bumps and bruises, but he's been that guy consistently 3-4 runs given up a game, which, may sound a little bit like a lot, but with this staff, I mean, look at Michael Fulmer. Michael Fulmer comes out throwing BBs, and, he's just absolutely a stud right from the get-go, and he's been terrible. Fulmer, who's supposed to be the ace, supposed to be the guy that after Verlander is supposed to step up, and hasn't really done that. I mean, he's had starts and he's had flashes of brilliance, and his stuff is still there, and he's had a little bit of a health scare this year. He's been healthy for the most part, I should say. He hasn't really stepped up, and Frankie Liriano was taking up some of that depth, and Mike Fiers has been taking up some of that depth, and Matt Boyd, who actually, for a little bit, was the best starter on the Tigers, has completely fallen off the face of the earth. And they've had just a rotation of starters, too. Blaine Hardy was in the rotation for a little bit. I think Artie Loecki started a game for the Tigers this year. And actually, Blaine Hardy didn't do super bad. Blaine Hardy was actually okay, and he's actually been pretty good coming out of the pen. And so is Drew Verhagen. And Shane Green's been okay. He's had a couple of rough spots this year, but Shane Green's actually been surprisingly okay. But really, Joe Jimenez has been like this saving freaking great. But Joe Jimenez has just been like, he's been Had a couple of spots this year where he's been iffy with his command, lost his command a little bit, and blah, blah, blah. He's a young guy. You know, this has been his first true taste of the big leagues because he had been up and down the last couple of years and had cups of coffee and he'd been sit up and down. But, you know, this has been his first true one. As Bruce Rendon, but Bruce Rendon was coming up. He was touted as the next closer. He's going to be the guy that's going to be the most amazing. He's the shit. He's going to be the best ever. But he just ended up getting let it go by the Tigers. I remember when they sent him home for his piss-ass attitude for like the last month of the season. So, but Joe Jimenez, you know, he's finally found it. And he's been an absolute invaluable piece of the puzzle in the bullpen. He's been absolutely great. And, you know, Alex Wilson's been, he hasn't been like he used to be, but he's been okay. Really, the Tigers bullpen hasn't been great, but it hasn't been some outs. Their problem is their starters are going so few innings that their bullpen is absolutely getting crushed with so many innings all the time. Guys can't get guys to go 6. I mean, I'm watching the game right now, and Fulmer's got 79 pitches in the bottom of the 5th. He's already given up 5 runs. So he's probably got another inning to go, you know, based on his. I don't care if you got, you know, the Yankees bullpen, where you can throw a guy after guy after guy. If they're throwing 4 innings every night, they're going to burn them go to. Oh, yeah, good point, Red-Minded. Jordan Zimmerman has been doing really well lately. Yeah, though the only thing is they are not going to be able to trade Jordan Zimmerman because Jordan Zimmerman is better, a lot better. His last start was rocky, but you go to a start before that when he struck out 11 guys. The biggest thing about Zim is he finally has his slider back. He when he first came over from the Nats, he was using it, but when he was really struggling there, he didn't use his slider that much, and he wasn't getting as many swings in fastball, and he mainly relies on that slider to get guys out. Now his slider has come back. You're seeing more swings in mid-time bomb. You don't know what his arm's going to be like. You don't know how much, you know, how many more pitches he's got left in that arm. I mean, he was already having, you know, issues for Nationals. I think this is a guy already that had Tommy John surgery once in his career. So, you know, that was a big question for him even when the Tigers signed him was, you know, his durability. And it's come through already to show that his durability hasn't really been there. He's always been a guy that could pitch. I mean, he's a guy that pitched a no-hitter. He's always had quality stuff. But durability and how long can he last has always been a certain thing. I don't think Zimmerman's going to be able to get traded. I'd be like in 2000... I want to say it was 9. The Tigers traded, I think it was Luke French and 2 other guys for this guy named Jared Washburn from the Mariners. And Jared Washburn was a lefty the Tigers really needed. And, yeah, Reddick did homer. Jared Washburn was a lefty the Tigers needed. I remember when he was a left-handed pitcher, and he was just killing it. The Tigers get him and look up Jared Washburn's stats as a Tiger. He ended up getting hurt down the stretch. And he was just a complete bust. And I think something like that with Jordan Zimmerman's a concern. Washburn was coming into his last year of his contract, though. He actually, I don't think, ever pitched in the MLB ever again after the time. But I just don't see Zim getting traded. Now, I want to talk about the All-Star thing. Nick Castellanos is probably the most deserving Tiger of all the Tigers to go, you know, in between innings. He ain't going to be out there in the friggin' All-Star game. It's too stacked. Way too stacked. The amount of about the All-Star, like the AL is far superior than the NL this year. You know, most of the time, normally I look at them, I'm like, damn, these 2 squads are really good. Matt Kemp is a starting. And now, don't get me wrong, I won't take anything away from Matt Kemp. He's had a good year. I picked him up on my fantasy squad a few months ago, and he's paid dividends. He's been awesome. But Matt Kemp is a starting left fielder for that squad. They literally have. No, not even close. Not even close to the team that the AL has. Just the AL's outfield alone. Mookie, JD, and Trout is better. Jesus Christ. Michael Fulmer is getting shelled. That's 7 runs. Is easily better than anything that the National League is putting out there. It is crazy good how good the AL team is this year compared to the NL team. The AL is way better this year, and it's a scary team. So Castellanos is by far the most deserving because every team has to have at least one represented on the All-Star team. That's a rule. But Joe Jimenez was the only guy who was going to get a spot. I mean, Fulmer just gave up a 7 spot in 5 innings. I said he was going to go another inning. He didn't even last another pitch. Hey, 5th, 2 outs, and who's got to come in? The bullpen. Warwick Sopol's going to be in this fucking game pitching. You know, that Ozzy's going to be out there pitching. So they're just like I'm saying, there's no depth. So it's just been a weird, crazy year so far for the Tigers. You know, they lose 11 in a row. And it was one of the worst win streaks, losing streaks I saw in a while from the Tigers, because they it's not like they were getting their asses kicked and, you know, not playing good ball, having a luck. I mean, there was quite a few one-run games they lost during that stretch of 11 games losing. You know, they couldn't push ahead those runs. They weren't in right position. Gardner at one time was like pretending he had put all the names in like one of those bingo rollers that they put the balls in, and just picking names out to try to figure out a freaking lineup. Get some runs. They'd come out games where, you know, Castellanos put them on the board early, and that would be it. They'd lose, you know, 2-4 or 3-5, you know, and they just couldn't hold leads late in the games. And it was just worst losing streaks I had saw. They had just so much bad luck. But that really put the Tigers where they are as a team. And honestly, I'm really happy that they lost 11 straight games. If they were to come in right now at closer to 500, 3-4 games in 500 into the All-Star break, you just get this fallacy of false hope. But here's not all that you got for 1 year. So Frankie Liriano and Mike Fiers, I want them freaking gone. Why would you want the Tigers to trade away anything they have accumulated in the last couple of years through draft, through trades? Why would you want them to try to add to a team that was clearly overachieving, that had no chance of ever making enough? Hey, you know, they're only a few games under 500. The AL Central's up for grabs. No one's really taking it. Fine, great, whatever. But you're going to trade pieces to add pieces when you already got a bunch of rentals? Trade Frankie Liriano, get something for him. He hasn't pitched that bad this year, and he's definitely shown signs of brilliance if the guy could just ever find the goddamn strike zone. Mike Fiers, like I said. And then you look at, you know, Michael Fulmer, Nick Castellanos. Trade them too. Honestly, I want anyone that can be traded to be traded, because this crop of guys, you truly don't know who is going to be here in the next 4 years. They have so many guys down on the farm that are going to be chips in the future that they hope to be. You know, Candelario, he's taking growing pains this year, but I'm okay with that. You know, he's been hurt. He's been hit a couple times by pitches. He's had issues, I think, with getting hit in the hand this year. 4 home run, and he was like one of the hottest hitters in baseball. His averages up to like 270, 275. Now he's down to the low 220s. But that's okay. He's getting at bats. He's seeing pick repetition being out there every single day. Keep him, you know. And Jose Iglesias, he's gone at the end of this year. You know, and he's been a guy, always a pesky at bat, good defender. Trade him. Don't keep him around, you know. And just the fact that they're even where they're at with these guys, you know, it's awesome. You know, Victor Martinez is a waste of a space on the roster at this point, but the Tigers, and they want to give him a swan song so he can retire. You know, just is what is with him. And then the outfield has just been, oh my God, Nick Castellanos, wasn't for his bat, I don't know what he would have, because he can't field to save his life. I mean, every time a ball comes to him, it looks like me out there. Just he has no idea where it's going. And then the way they had, you know, the way their outfield has been, just their rotation outfield is just like shit, man. It's been a freaking merry-go-round. So you're at this point, just trade him. Nick Castellanos, he's coming into his own. I remember when they drafted Nick, and I shit you not, listen to Jim Callis. He said this guy type with his bat-to-ball skills, his gap-to-gap power, he is a guy that has batting title potential. And, you know, Nick, one thing he has done, his swing does get big, it does get long, he does have some holes in it sometimes. But when this guy is on it, he is on it. His bat speed is tremendous. His hands are so quick. You know, he has not missed a lot of fastballs this year. You know, he's always been a guy, so it's always good extra base pop. He led the AL in triples last year, so he's got, you know, definitely gap-to-gap power. Trade him. He had guys like him. Think about it. You know, he's a shit-ass defender, but if he goes insanely on another level, but he is easily $100 million. He is easily $100 million guy for the next 5-6 years. why keep him around when he hasn't, they haven't been able to have successful extension talks with him? You extend him anyways, and by the time they get, is going to be, almost in his 30s and whatnot. He's going to be up for a contract again. Just keep the payroll down. You have so many prospects: Jake Rogers, Dwell, Isaac Perez, Frankie Perez, Matt Manning, Babe Burrows, Kyle Funkhauser. I mean, you have kids on the farm that you have no idea how they're going to fit in, but have some legit. Always before, they had, these players that were just absolutely crap ass prospects, but their number one prospect is like number 10 in other systems. But they have kids now that would essentially be, you roll the dice on them and they could actually be something. Castellanos turned out to be something. He's definitely been one of their better prospects in the last, decade or so. Castellanos, Justin Verlander, Rick Porcello has been their best three guys that's come up in their system since 2005. But yeah, it's just been crazy. There's just so many guys on this team, I just don't see sticking around. I hope they trade anyone they can get a good offer for. I mean, they can get like a good return for Castellanos. Fulmer, he was injury prone with the Mets. That was his big thing when they traded Cespedes for him. He's been injury prone. I don't think Daniel Norris is ever going to be anything but a late inning reliever because they have to watch his arm because he doesn't have the durability. Matt Bull played out a couple of times over, and his stuff doesn't get inconsistent. He could be a back end of the rotation guy, but just if you could get something for these guys, get them. It's not even worth keeping them around because this was a weird year. This was a transition year. You got some aging vets in there that you hope to bring in on one-year pillow contracts and shoot them off at the trade deadline to add more prospects to them. You knew you weren't going to go to the playoffs this year. You knew you weren't going to be in contention this year. So why keep any of these guys? You think Nico Goodrum's going to be on this roster next year? For fuck's sake, he's like Andy Dirks or Will Rhymes. Next, he's going to be gone. He's like Quentin Berry. He's going to be, or Matt Tuiasosopo. He'll be gone. You think, as much as I like Jacoby Jones, he can't hit for shit. I think he's a really good outfielder and he has really good speed, but he can't hit for shit. His swing is just terrible, and his bat to ball skills are awful. He can hit balls a million miles, but his swing is shit. I don't think he's ever going to be good enough to be an everyday major leaguer. And I mean, you got guys like Alex Reyes up here. You think he's going to be here next year? Jose Iglesias isn't going to be here next year. Dixon Machado was already. Yeah, this whole team is just, it's going to look completely different again. But, that's the whole point of it. When you're in a transition like this and you're drafting, it's going to take like 4 years. Then some of your bigger prospects that you hope you hit on are up on their everyday regulars. You get your Chris Bryants and your Javi Baez's and, your Addison Russells and your Kyle Schwarbers. That's how the Cubs did it. They had some shit-ass players they had to get rid of and took guys in on one-year deals or, guys to fill places. But then once their prospects came up and they're ready to go, a really good team, they win the World Series. But then once their prospects came up and they're ready to go, a really good team, they win the World Series. So, like I said, there's no point in keeping these guys around. Like, I understand they're young, I understand they're talented, but at the same time, these guys aren't going to be cost-effective players. But let's keep them around. So why not trade them when a couple years left on their deals, whatnot like that, when they have maximum potential value, and bring in more guys that you can hope to hit on? Because eventually you could have an outfield like the Red Sox have with J.D. Betts and JBJ and, you get guys like Rafael Devers and stuff like that. So if you can get them, I'm all for it. And there's a lot of people like, well, who are you going to have to win on the team? You're not winning now. You're not winning now. What's the point of keeping around? You're going to suck with them. You're going to suck without them. I'd rather trade them and get something instead of here next couple years losing 85, 90 games the next 2-3 years. And then by the time the Tigers are good, they're already going to be gone. And, maybe you get a compensation pick for him. Or maybe Fulmer's arm blows up. Or maybe Castellanos gets hurt and he's never the same again. Get something for her while you can, because You know, the prospects you can get. You're in a transition, and you're rebuilding. So hopefully by this those guys are gone. I don't think Castellanos or Fulmer are going to get gone, are going to get traded, I should say, because I think the Tigers want the world in back and then some for both those guys, and rightfully so. More so Castellanos, because he's always been a pretty durable guy, even though he's got hurt from getting hit by pitches and stuff. But Fulmer, with his injury problems, I think Castellanos is definitely worth a little bit more. But trade him. Why you can get something for him? I think next month Iglesias will be gone because someone's gonna need him. There's always he's a really good number, a 9-hole, 8-hole hitter. You can there, pesky little guy, good defender. Fiers is gonna be gone. Lariano is gonna be gone for sure. They better be gone. If they're not gone, then Alavila ain't doing something right, because there ain't no point in keeping those guys on the roster and trying to when they're pitching for nothing. You only signed them to eat innings and hopefully because no one else would take them because they were coming off down years. But you only signed them to eat innings and hopefully flip them. And you better more than well enough to fit in the back of a rotation, a 3 or 4-hole slot. So it's really all I got for you guys. The stream chat, there's really no one in there. Bryce Harper, yeah, he used to say he's playing at home, but yeah, Bryce Harper has had power this year, and he got off to a really good start. I remember people like, "Oh, it's VP again." And he still walks quite a bit, and he's still a good on base guy. But I'm watching him at the plate. He just doesn't look like he's seeing the ball that well. It looks like he's trying to hit home runs every single time up there instead of just going up there and doing his thing. Because I mean, this is a guy I think has been in the top 4 or 5 in the NL in walks, maybe even higher than that the last couple of years. I remember his MVP year, he was getting walked a lot, not only just intentionally, but he has a good eye, and I think he's just a little aggressive and trying to hit every chasing more, and just getting in slumps where he doesn't see the ball that well. So I agree, Bryce hasn't been that good this year, but it is what it is, and he's a home guy, and Max Scherzer will probably be starting that game too. So, and then Red Minded also said they're doing a whole lot better than the 2003 team. Yeah, that 2003 squad was that was something. That was the year I first started. First Tigers game ever that year, 2003. They played the Kansas City Royals, and they started 0-7. I remember 03 and 08 when they both started 0-7, and man, that was a bad year. It was a year I wanted to forget. And some of the guys they had on that team, I can remember some of those guys in those early 2000 teams like Pena, Fernando Vina, Dimitri Young, Alex Sanchez, Nate Cornejo, and Jason Johnson, Will Ledesma, Brandon Inge, Marcus Thames, Carlos Guillen, Blanco, Pudge, Ordonez, like that 03, 04, 05. Who else was on those teams? Esteban Yan. And those games were brutal to watch. I mean, oh yeah, Jeremy Bonderman was on those teams too. I remember when he first came to the Tigers in those early 2000s teams. But man, those are some hard games to watch. They lost a lot of games, a lot of losing streaks, a lot of bad baseball, very undisciplined team, very bad defensively, save their lives. It was just a bad squad. So, all right, guys. Well, there's no one else in here asking questions or nothing like that. So I guess I'm gonna head on out of here. And a couple weeks, I'll make another video after the trade deadline, see what the Tigers did, and discuss their rest of their season going forward. So that's all I got for you guys, and have a good one.